Almost there, just a little further.
Snow hammered the SUV relentlessly. Wind screamed through the trees. Visibility zero. John squinted, gripping the steering wheel tightly, his knuckles white. Beside him, Mary hugged their son, Dylan, his face pale against her coat. She whispered reassurances, though her own fear was evident. The headlights cut through the swirling snow, illuminating a wrought-iron gate that seemed to appear out of nowhere. Ravencrest Lodge, a sign proclaimed, the letters twisted and menacing, almost as if they were alive. John wrestled the gate open, his hands numb from the cold, then drove up the long, winding driveway that seemed endless. The lodge loomed before them, dark and imposing against the raging storm, its windows like eyes watching their every move. It looked less like a refuge and more like a hungry beast waiting to devour them. As they huddled inside, the full weight of the storm crashed down, sealing them within Ravencrest's cold embrace. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows. John tried to ignore the prickling sensation on the back of his neck, a feeling he couldn't shake off. It felt like they were being watched. Every shadow in the lodge seemed to move, every creak of the floorboards echoed ominously. The lodge was a labyrinth of dark wood and heavy drapes. Dust motes danced in the weak light filtering through grimy windows. John shivered, the silence broken only by the howling wind outside.
Mommy, I don't like it here.
It's just an old house, honey.
But even to her, the words rang false. Ravencrest felt oppressive, suffocating. Exploring, John stumbled upon a library. It was a room frozen in time, filled with leather-bound books and the scent of decay. On a dusty table lay a journal, its leather cover cracked and worn. He opened it, his heart pounding with a nameless dread. The journal's yellowed pages whispered of another time. The elegant script detailed the life of Elias Ravencrest, the lodge's original owner. But as John read further, the entries grew strange, disturbing. Elias wrote of dabbling in forbidden knowledge, of rituals that challenged the natural order. He spoke of harnessing the power of the land, of communing with ancient entities. John's blood ran cold. This was madness. He read of a final ritual, a desperate attempt to seize ultimate power. But the ritual had gone wrong, unleashing a darkness that consumed Elias and his followers. John slammed the journal shut, his mind reeling. Suddenly a blood-curdling scream split the silence. John whirled around, his heart pounding in his chest.
Mary, Dylan.
He found Mary and Dylan in a hidden chamber, accessed by a secret passage behind the fireplace. The discovery was both shocking and terrifying, as they had no idea what awaited them inside. The air hung heavy, thick with the stench of decay and something else, something ancient and evil. It was as if the room itself was alive, breathing with a malevolent presence. Strange symbols etched into the stone floor pulsed with an eerie light. These symbols seemed to whisper secrets of dark rituals and forbidden knowledge. In the center of the room stood an altar, stained a horrifying crimson. The sight of it sent shivers down their spines as they imagined the horrors that had taken place there. John felt a cold dread grip his heart. The fear was almost paralyzing, making it hard to think or move. This was the place where Elias Ravencrest had performed his dark rituals. The very air seemed to hum with the residual energy of those malevolent ceremonies. Dylan lay on the floor, his eyes vacant, his breathing shallow. It was clear that he was in grave danger and time was running out. Mary cradled him close, her face pale with terror. She could feel his life slipping away and was desperate to save him.
He's burning up. His fever was dangerously high, and they knew they had to act fast. We have to get him out of here. The urgency in their voices was palpable as they scrambled to find a way out.
But John knew it was too late. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks, filling him with despair. The evil that haunted Ravencrest had already sunk its claws into Dylan. There was no escaping the malevolent force that had claimed him.
Dylan grew steadily worse. His fever spiked, and he was plagued by nightmares, his screams echoing through the empty halls of the lodge. He would thrash and cry out, his words twisted and dark.
"He needs a doctor," Mary insisted, her voice cracking with desperation.
But the storm raged on, cutting them off from the outside world. John felt a growing sense of dread. He knew that Dylan's illness was no ordinary sickness. It was the darkness of Ravencrest, seeping into his son, twisting him from the inside out. He returned to the journal, desperately searching for answers. There had to be a way to break the curse, to save his son. John found it. A ritual of banishment, a dangerous gamble to sever the ties that bound the spirits to Ravencrest. It was a long shot, but it was their only hope. He gathered the necessary components: candles, herbs, and a silver amulet mentioned in the journal. As the storm raged outside, he performed the ritual, his voice echoing the ancient words. The air crackled with energy. The symbols on the chamber floor flared to life, bathing the room in an otherworldly light. John felt a surge of power, dark and intoxicating, flow through him. He had to be careful. One wrong move, and he would become another prisoner of Ravencrest. As the last words of the ritual faded, the storm outside abruptly ceased. The silence was deafening, as if the world itself was holding its breath. John rushed to Dylan's side, his heart pounding in his chest. His son's skin, which had been burning hot, was now cool to the touch. Relief washed over him. Dylan was breathing easily, his nightmares vanished. John wasted no time, knowing they had to leave immediately. He bundled his family into the SUV, urgency driving his every move. As he drove through the now open gates of Ravencrest, he could feel eyes watching them, cold and malevolent, sending shivers down his spine. They didn't speak until they were miles away, the lights of the town twinkling in the distance like beacons of hope, guiding them to safety. John glanced at Dylan in the rearview mirror, his heart finally beginning to slow. His son was asleep, his face peaceful, free from the torment that had gripped him. But John couldn't shake the feeling that they hadn't escaped Ravencrest unscathed, that something dark still lingered in the shadows. Life returned to normal, or as normal as it could be after their ordeal at Ravencrest. Dylan was healthy, but quiet, withdrawn. He never spoke of the lodge, of the nightmares that haunted him.
One night, John found Dylan staring out the window, his eyes fixed on the distant mountains in the direction of Ravencrest. "Dad?" Dylan whispered, his voice barely audible. "Do you think it's still out there?"
John put a comforting hand on his son's shoulder. He wanted to say no, to assure Dylan that the nightmare was over, but deep down, he knew the truth. Ravencrest never truly let go. And somewhere, in the shadows of that cursed lodge, something waited, biding its time.